continuing with a visit to Radha Kunda virtually. Although I know there's some devotees in Vrindavan, and they're somehow or another going out on Prikrama at risk. But we're doing on the safe side, virtually. Radha Kunda, we heard many things at the very beginning, is the most sacred place in the universe. Radha Kunda is non-different than Srimati Radharani. Radha Kunda is the dearmost to Krishna, just as Radha is the dearmost to Krishna. And because of that, many of our great acharyas and predecessors in our disciplic line spent time, not their entire life, Raghunath Das, the entire adult life in Vrindavan at Radha Kunda, but many others spent some time in Vrindavan at Radha Kunda, and we're going to visit some of those places today. So far, we started on the western side of Radha Kunda. You can see, here's Radha Kunda. They're down here in the lower right-hand corner. That's north, south, east, west. And on the western side is where we entered. We entered around here. And we've gone so far around this far. This is Lalita Kunda and the temple of Jiva Goswami. And the temple of Jiva Goswami, or Bhajan Kutir of Jiva Goswami, extends down to Shamakund. And that's where we ended up yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Sorry about that. We're visiting the following places. Starting here, where you see this blue arrow, this is the Bhajan Kutir of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're going to visit right here, which is Manasa Pavangat, very special place, favored by Radha and her gopi friends. They daily, every day, at noon, would take their bath at Shamakund at this Manasa Pavangat we're going to hear. And down here, this is where the Arjuna tree is situated. And we're going to end up over here. This is the Ganga Mata Goswamini temple. So this area, the map shown here, it's really packed up in here. So they have a separate map, which I don't have a copy of, because it's packed up in here. It's the places of residence of great Vaishnavas, many great Vaishnavas. So we're just going to visit a few places in this area. And the furthest out is this one right here, Ganga Mata Goswamini. It just gives you a picture. I find it's valuable to see where we are as we're moving along. So the first place is where this arrow is here. This is the Bhajan Kutir of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Now this map is upside down compared to the one we were just looking at. It's 180 degrees different, but it gives you an idea of where the Bhajan Kutir of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is. It's a very small place. You see the size. That's where he did his writing of 3 very, very elevated books. His title, Kaviraj, came as a result of his writing, but even before he did his writing, he was requested to do this because he was the king of poets. Deeply realized, we'll see as we're moving along, deeply realized in the teachings of the Goswamis. He was particularly favored by Srimati Radharani, we'll hear shortly. And he lived a long time. You see at the very bottom of the slide, he lived for 96 years. 96 years. And his physique was quite frail, as you see from the painting, and his living situation was quite humble. A little place where he had Govardhan Shilas that he worshipped, and astounded the world with his brilliance in capturing 3 different topics: Gora Lila, Krishna Lila, and another very profound literature in very, very different styles. Excellent command of Sanskrit, but specifically he wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita in language that was more accessible to more people than Sanskrit is. He wrote it in Bengali, purposely, so that more people could have access to it. One example of his erudition is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, where he's writing a glorification of the Kama Gayatri mantra. For those of you that have Gayatri mantras, you know which one that is. That's the final of our mantras. And he wrote that the Kama Gayatri mantra consists of 24 and a half syllables, each one being moons. Each of the syllables being moons. So many moons here, so many moons there on the body of the Supreme Lord. So the drawing on the left side is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also resided, we're going to see his Bhajan Kutir, maybe 10 yards away from where Krishnadas Kaviraj had his Bhajan Kutir. And they associated together. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur looked up to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami like anything. And as he was studying, just to get some picture of the nature of Vishwanath, he wanted to understand what's this 24 and a half syllables. Because any Sanskrit literature that he had was familiar with, there's no such thing as a half a syllable. So he searched and he meditated and he prayed and nothing happened. He decided, what's the use of my life if I can't understand Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's writings? Maybe he made a mistake, but how is that possible? And he was spiritually, emotionally, in turmoil. So he, one evening, was by the side of Radha Kunda, and as he was chanting and praying, he dozed off. And when he dozed off, Srimati Radharani came before him and explained what this half a syllable is. She said, there's a particular Sanskrit grammar text in the library here at Radha Kunda. She gave the name of the text, and it explains when a certain syllable is in conjunction with another syllable, it counts as a half a syllable. And then Srimati Radharani said, this is directly in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Krishnadas. Krishnadas has indeed written correctly. No, it's not in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings. Krishnadas has indeed written correctly. He is my dear girlfriend, who brings me much pleasure. I have blessed him so that he can understand the most intimate truths about myself. Do not doubt anything he has written. And then Radharani instructed him to write a commentary on Kama Gayatri, and blessed him that he would then also understand what Krishnadas Kaviraj wrote and what Kama Gayatri means. Now it's very esoteric, the Kama Gayatri, and the commentary is very esoteric. And I don't recommend that you go try to find a copy and read it, because you probably won't understand it. But Vishwanath understood it, and he's understanding that the person we're speaking about just now, Krishnadas Kaviraj, was associating with Radharani in her spiritual form. According to Gauraguna Deshtipika, there are these two manjaris, some say, Ratna Rekha Manjari, and another is Kasturi Manjari. A dear girlfriend of Radharani, who Radharani has bestowed her blessings so that he can understand the most intimate truths about her. And that's the personality who we're speaking about, who made his residence by the side of Radha Kunda. He didn't start there. He was from a place in Bengal. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he mentions how it came to be that he resided in Vrindavan. It's not clear whether he was a householder or a lifelong brahmachari. And it's not clear whether he was a disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. Certainly he regarded Nityananda Prabhu as Shiksha Guru. Perhaps he was also his Diksha disciple, or Raghunath Das Goswami, because they were contemporary. Raghunath Das explained all of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes to the associates, to those who lived at Radha Kunda, every day, for 3 to 4 hours every day, hearing the realizations and experiences of Raghunath Das. And that was the foundation, one of the principal foundations for his writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it gives the name of the town from where he was born and where he lived. It mentions that he had a brother, although it doesn't give his brother's name. And his brother didn't have faith in Lord Nityananda, but had faith in Lord Chaitanya. So the situation is described was they had invited many devotees to come for a 24-hour kirtan. So it's not a new thing. It was present during his time. And Gunarnava Mishra was also present, and he was a pujari doing puja during the 24-hour kirtan. And invited into the assembly was Miniketan Ramdas, who was from the same location, the same town or village or whatever. And Miniketan Ram was very elevated soul, and he didn't conduct himself by convention. He was something of an intoxicated avadut, spiritually intoxicated. And when he came to the 24-hour kirtan, he would do funny things. He would sometimes strike people with his flute, sometimes he would slap them, sometimes this and that. And everyone understood this extraordinary behavior is like the extraordinary behavior of Lord Nityananda, who he was deeply attached to, and they were very respectful, except Gunarnava Mishra. So Miniketan Ram made a comment which everyone heard. He rebuked Gunarnava Mishra, saying, just see, in our midst is another Romaharshan Sutta, who failed to offer respect to Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram, of course, is Lord Nityananda in Gaura Lila, so he has no respect for Lord Nityananda, but he said it in a different way. Gunarnava Mishra smiled. He took the rebuke in a pleasant manner and went on with his puja. And then after the 24-hour kirtan was over, Miniketan Ram and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, who remains unnamed, they were discussing this thing that happened with Gunarnava Mishra and Miniketan Ram. And in the course of that discussion, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took the side of Gunarnava Mishra, saying, yes, he doesn't have respect for Nityananda because, and he spoke directly offensive things about Nityananda. And so Miniketan Ram took exception. He didn't hit him or abuse him or anything. He broke his flute and left. Now, it wasn't everybody was around. It was the event was over, and it was a discussion between the two. And he left. And Miniketan Ram was himself a very elevated devotee. And so Krishnadas Kaviraj scolded him. And because it's directly in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I want to read what he wrote. These two brothers, as you see in the painting, Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are like one body. They are equal in their spiritual manifestation. If you do not accept the divinity of Lord Nityananda, you will fall down. To have faith in one, but to disrespect the other, is as logical as accepting half a hen. Better you should be an atheist by denying the divinity of both than a hypocrite who believes in one and not the other. And it's a heavy thing to say because he's his brother. But he's wanting to be protective, and his brother didn't have faith in Nityananda. Now, there are some persons that didn't, because Nityananda was a bit of an avadut. People didn't understand his divinity. They saw his avadutedness, his contrary position. So that evening, Krishnadas, pictured here on the right, he had a dream in which Nityananda appeared with associates and expressed his pleasure at taking the strong position with his brother that he had taken, and said he gave him residence in Vrindavan. Very dramatic. There's two dramatic things. By the mercy of Nityananda, we find many of the persons whose we've already discussed, they achieved Vrindavan by the mercy of Nityananda. That nice function. Nityananda is the original spiritual master. And the other is repeatedly in Chaitanya Bhagavat, as well as Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a offense to respect Lord Chaitanya and not respect Lord Nityananda. Similarly, in Ramchandra's Leela, to disrespect Lakshman while respecting Ram. That's not right. It's not right. So these two brothers have a very special role in the life of devotion. And here's another painting of the same. It's a dream. The dream broke. And that very moment Krishna Das left to go to Vrindavan. And when he went to Vrindavan, he was met by Rupa and Sanatan. And he decided to stay where he stayed, by the side of Shyamakund and Radha Kunda. And in a reasonably short time, Raghunath Das Goswami also arrived, because Krishna Das was a little elder to him, and Raghunath Das was a little younger. They made friendship, but Raghunath Das had the advantage of having been with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally for many years. And as a result of that association, and under the care of Swarup Damodar. So he not only saw and heard the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya firsthand, but he had an understanding of their inner meaning from Swarup Damodar. So a great resource. The Rupa Goswami instructed Raghunath, now that you've arrived here, you must every day recite Gaura Lila. And one could only imagine what that was like. The recitation of Gaura Lila given by Raghunath Das Goswami by the side of Radha Kunda. And in course of time, the Vaishnavas looked up to the elder Krishna Das, Kaviraj, saying, can you please write all this down? Because otherwise future generations nobody will know. And he was very reluctant. But on their insistence, he went around and consulted Vaishnavas, should I, if you feel that I should, please give your blessings, etc. And that's blessings before writing something transcendental is wise. Although he's elder and learned and he has all qualifications, he was taking that humble position because that was his nature. And in writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's said that he was very respectful to Vrindavan Das Thakur. Their births were close to one another. They were born around 10 years apart. But Vrindavan Das wrote his writing first, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it's described that he, in the beginning, gives a kind of a sketch of the life of Lord Chaitanya, but he didn't complete it. All the sketch, plus he didn't have access to Lord Chaitanya's pastimes so much in Puri. There's something in Chaitanya Bhagavat, but not as extensive as Raghunath Das, who lived with Lord Chaitanya in Puri. And so it's said that Krishna Das received, we'll back up. Raghunath Das Goswami, while in Puri, was called the Raghu of Swarup, because there were several Raghunaths. So he was in Swarup Damodar's care. Swarup Damodar kept careful notes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela and the meanings of those Leela and his teachings, etc. He had Raghunath Das Goswami memorize them. And then in turn, those that outline or notes, plus fill it in, was told every day to Krishnadas Kaviraj, along with Raghunath Das's own direct experiences and realizations. So he had, those are his two main sources. The notes of Swarup Damodar, which he didn't have a copy of because they weren't given to Raghunath, but Raghunath memorized them. And then Raghunath's explanation of those notes and his own experiences. He had an additional resource, and that's the diary of Murari Gupta, who is from Navadvip. So where there were areas in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Navadvip, which Vrindavan Das didn't elaborate upon, Krishna Das did. So with those sources and the mandate of the Vaishnavas, he went before Madan Mohan. It's a nice painting.
Madan Mohan munadi ponaru.
I beg your pardon? What? Oh, someone's translating. So, the deity of Madan Mohan is the deity of Sanatan Goswami. Now, the deity of Madan Mohan is now in Karoli, is no longer in Vrindavan, but at that time the deity of Madan Mohan was in Vrindavan. And he went before the deity of Madan Mohan, seeking his blessings. A garland from the deity slipped, and the pujari, as you see in the painting, placed it around the neck of Krishnadas Kaviraj, signifying, this is right in Krishna and Chaitanya Charitamrita, the acceptance of Krishnadas as receiving blessings from Madan Mohan to do this work. And he feels that he was simply writing the indication and of Madan Mohan. Within just another one of his qualities, he was fully endowed with all ability and had all the resources, but nonetheless he carried as a very natural, profound humility that is found in elevated Vaishnavas. He writes, I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, and lower than a worm and stool. Whoever hears my name loses the results of his virtuous deeds, and whoever utters my name commits a sin. Other than Nityananda, could anyone in this world show mercy to one as abominable as me? Nityananda is the incarnation of mercy. He is so intoxicated by ecstatic love that he does not discriminate between the good and the bad. He delivers anyone who falls down before him. Therefore, he has delivered such a sinful and fallen person as me. So it's celebrated in this phrase is this lower than a worm and stool and more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. That's what we normally hear, but it's a whole complete statement. He feels himself to be the only qualification is the mercy of Lord Nityananda. As his brother did not have faith in Lord Nityananda, Krishnadas had enormous profound faith in Lord Nityananda and profound humility, feeling himself low and unqualified. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as did our Srila Prabhupada, had great love for Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Prabhupada was crossing in Jaladuta, he writes that this is my solace. Of course, he was reading in Bengali. Here's what Bhaktisiddhanta wrote, same or similar. If it were to happen that all the books in the world were destroyed, leaving only Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, then the people of the world would still be able to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Listen to this. Even if the Srimad Bhagavatam were lost, leaving only the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there would be no loss to humanity, for that which has not been revealed to us in the Bhagavad is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's Bhaktisiddhanta. The supreme absolute truth is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the combined form of Radha and Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is his sound incarnation. The divine mystery of Radharani's divine status and glories are found therein. Can there be any doubt, therefore, of the supreme status of this piece of transcendental literature? A question was asked the other day, and now here's confirmation. The question was, it is said that the Bhagavatam is the literary form of Krishna. It is said that the Ramayana is the literary form of Ram. Is it also correct to say Chaitanya Charitamrita is the literary form of Lord Chaitanya? And the answer is here. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is a sound incarnation. No, unique literature. I mean, during that 1 month before Gaur Purnima, there were many classes given about Chaitanya Charitamrita, and some of the classes were given by scholarly devotees that made it very clear, definitive, in explaining in accessible language the writing of the Goswamis, which was in Sanskrit, that many people had no access to. So rather than reading all the Sandarbhas and all the thises and the thats, he gathered verses from them, presented them in context with the topics, and expanded on them as needed. So it was setting straight the Siddhanta of Lord Chaitanya and the relative position, because there were some others who had different ideas than Lord Chaitanya's supremacy, without going into it. Even amongst his followers, they had different ideas and different ideas and different ideas. But the work was so exquisite and so authoritative that it set the record straight. Who was Lord Chaitanya? Very important. Very important. And that's the reason why Prabhupada translated it. So there's 3 books that he's well known for. And this is our last slide about Raghunath Das Goswami. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we've been speaking about. Govinda Lilamrita, which it says right here, it describes in detail Lord Krishna's activities over a 24-hour period. So it's not just mentioning that fact, it's going through those 24-hour periods and describing pastimes of Krishna that fit in this period and fit in that period and fit in the other periods. Very, very elevated. Very, very elevated. So elevated that Bhaktisiddhanta one asked his father, Bhaktivinoda, if it was all right to print Govinda Lilamrita. And the answer was, yes, you can print one copy, and it's for you. Because most people won't understand. Such an elevated literature. Most people won't understand. Very, very, very elevated. And then Krishna Karnamrita. Krishna Karnamrita is also in Sanskrit. So he wrote commentary on it. Bilva Mangala Thakur's writing. Krishna Karnamrita. Very lovely. I didn't read it, but some devotees have shared little excerpts from it, and it's amazing literature. So that's our visit to the Bhajan Kutir of Raghunath Das Goswami, and literally 10 steps away from his door is the Bhajan Kutir of Raghunath Das Goswami. And the paintings that you see here, we've already described them when we visited the Samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami. Some of you may not have been there, so I'll just describe quickly, but the Samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami is in the same hall or compound area as the Gopinath deity that was worshipped by Janava, or established on Janava's direction to do so. So it's by the side of Radha Kunda. And the paintings, well, the one that you see on the upper left, that's at Raghunath Das Goswami's Samadhi. And this is his Bhajan Kutir. At his Bhajan Kutir, it shows the same painting, but the reproduction is at the very, very bottom. And on the far right side, there's Krishna, and the far left side, there's Sanatan Goswami, and right next to Raghunath Das is two lions. And they're drinking water from Radha Kunda, and he's so absorbed in the holy name, he doesn't even notice. But Sanatan Goswami notices and chastises him. You're making Krishna protect you. You're supposed to be serving Krishna. So it happened again. Whoops. That's the one on the lower right, where in the middle of the hot summer day, his body was baking. Radharani came and raised her garment to shield the sun, put Raghunath Das in the shade. That was observed by Sanatan Goswami. When Radharani left, the temperature cooled down a bit. He scolded Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami scolded Raghunath Das. Build a Bhajan Kutir. He was so renounced he wouldn't. So, right next door, they're neighbors, or almost like roommates, is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Bhajan Kutir. Now, look how simple they lived. Sitting place, a little cot, in a place where they could write. That's it. They were truly renounced. Now continuing, going in the same direction towards Shamakund is the Pilu tree. The Pilu tree, you see the text here that says, it's just a tree, a little bush. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur disclosed that on the banks of the Pavangat, Manasa Pavangat, he regularly had conversations with the soul that took shelter of that pilu tree, describing that previously, before becoming a pilu tree, he was a Brahmana in Varanasi, but he wanted to be close by the place of Radha Kunda and Shamakund, and so he accepted this pilu tree body. Pretty amazing, Vishwanath. Directly across from Vishwanath's Bhajan Kutir is an old dried up tree, and the old dried up tree is leaning against a brick column, and the old dried up tree before it died was the Bhimasane tree. What does that mean? When Raghunath Das was arranging the excavation of Radha Kund, he had a dream. And in the dream, the 5 Pandava brothers appeared. And they introduced themselves. We're the Pandavas. And we've taken our birth as trees surrounding this area so we can observe the eternal pastimes, the unmanifest and eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna here at Radhakund Shamakund. So please don't cut us down so we can continue to observe. And so you've seen, and I'll remind you, the shape of Shamakund is irregular, whereas the shape of Radhakund is a square. And it's irregular because he obliged Bhima, and shortly we're going to see Arjuna and the Arjuna tree. Well, here's the Arjuna tree. As we walk down these steps, on the photograph on the left, that's Manasa Pavangat. And then you look straight down along the side of Shamakund and you see another tree, which is still there. And it's the Arjuna tree. So that kind of marked the boundary of where the Shamakunda would be. Now we're going to walk a little bit down the steps of Shamakund. Yeah. And that's Manasa Pavangat. These steps that you see here, that's the steps of Manasa Pavangat, and they go up and up and up to this area up here, where we were, where the Bhajan Kutirs of these great Vaishnavas are situated. One of the significances of this Manasa Pavangat is it's a place where the gopis would keep their clothes when they took bath in Radhakund and Shamakund. Now there's supposed to be sound. Can you hear the sound, Bangsidari? There's a recording. There's several recordings in this. It is embedded in this slide. And it's not showing. So that's a problem that needs to be fixed. Okay. the description of Manasa Pavangat is that each day at noon, Radha and the gopis would bathe at this place. And they would place their clothes along the side of Manasa Pavangat. And sometimes, as you see in the painting on the right, Krishna, knowing what they were doing, he would come, and they were a little embarrassed because they were without their clothes. And it's a place where they would, after this bathing midday, they would get together, discuss what topic, discuss the topic of Krishna. And you can see Krishna over here on the far left. He's hiding. Can you see over here? He's hiding. And they're talking about him, and he knows that, and he's enjoying their company in seclusion. Now there's a wonderful pastime connected with this place, Manasa Pavangat, and it's called the beggar pastime. There was an arrangement where Krishna was supposed to meet Radha at an appointed time by the side of Manasa Pavangat. And there was an anticipation, decoration, cooked items, special arrangements. The two gopis on the right side, we know from their dress or their sari. One is Lita and the other is Vishaka. And Krishna was late. And there was some exchange with Krishna, why are you late? And Radharani didn't want to hear it. She got in her sulky man mood, told Krishna, please go away. So in great distress, what could he do? Krishna went away. And after Krishna went away, Radharani became bewildered about her uncontrolled attraction for Krishna. And she had just sent him away. And so she entered into a state of lamentation, and the other gopis were pacifying her in various ways, and nothing seemed to work. She became just totally beside herself with anxiety. And meanwhile, Krishna also was feeling very sad due to this exchange and Radharani's anger, and nothing he could do would break her anger. Purnamasi saw him in this condition. She knew exactly what to do. Purnamasi recommended Vrinda Devi will help you, and just do what she says. So Vrinda Devi quickly arrived. Vrinda Devi said, I have a solution, but you'll have to do exactly what I'm telling you. Yes. I can't stand to see Radha in this condition, and I'm too much attached to her. Please help. Whatever you say, I'll do. So Vrinda Devi said, get rid of that peacock feather. And get rid of that flute. And all this, cowherd boy outfit. I'm going to give you a mendicant outfit. And you dress like a mendicant, and I'll teach you a song. And you go back, and you go from place to place throughout Vrindavan and sing this song. And it's a song of seeking the prema of Radha. And the song is given. And he goes here, and he goes there, and goes there. And the gopis hear about this beggar that's seeking the favor of Srimati Radharani. And he suddenly shows up at the place where Radharani is, by the side of Manasa Pavan Ghat. And he's singing and singing, and the gopis are attracted to his singing. And where did you learn this song? From my teacher, Gandharvika. Gandharvika is the name of Radharani, but Gandharvika is also a name of one of the Gandharvas, Gandharvika. And you sing so nicely, and this is very wonderful. Do you also have skills of reading palms? Oh yes, I have the skill of reading palms. Beggars know how to do those things. A Brahmin beggar. And can you, our Radharani is in a great distress. We're afraid she might give up her life. We'd like to know why she is like this and what to do. Can you help? Sure. And they brought Krishna dressed as a beggar inside the kunj where she was. But Radharani was, in seclusion still, keeping her head covered. And because she didn't see anyone but Krishna. So they said, can you read her palm? He said, oh, I can't touch a lady's hand. I'm a mendicant. I'm a very, very strict in my vows. But I can tell you that I know how to read lines in the forehead. They said, well, Radharani isn't going to show you the lines in her forehead because she'll never even look at anybody other than Krishna. And he said, look, I'm a mendicant. There's no difficulty at all. I'm very strict. I never look at women's faces either, but I just look at the lines in her forehead. So they consulted Radha, who reluctantly agreed. And as she pulled her veil back, then she saw immediately, as soon as she saw the mendicant beggar, he transformed into his form of Krishna, and her anger broke, and everything was nice. So that's a nice pastime at the Manasa Pavan Ghat. Now here's a nice photograph from Manasa Pavan Ghat. If you look to the right, across Shamkund, there you see the Sangam. And we visited the Sangam already. Here the water level is low. As you can see, there's a space in here. Can you see? Right here. That's a space where the water flows between the two. It goes up and down. It's, goes deep into the Kund. And this Sangam is a place where Radha and Krishna would meet from time to time and enjoy their pastimes together at the Sangam. Now we're going to go a little bit further. If you remember from that map that I showed you, we're going to the place where the Chaitanya Gadadhar temple is. It's where Ganga Mata Goswamini resided. See this sign down here? It's in English and I guess Hindi. They also speak that this was a tree that in a previous life was a Brahmana who took birth here, so similar to what the Pilu tree narration. But they have a sign out front just in case people don't catch it. And there's a little girl with one of the cows just in the area. And Ganga Mata Goswamini did her bhajan here. We're going to hear something about her life. Let's see. There's supposed to be another recording. Oh, that's what happened. Now, as far as I know, this music, when there's these recordings like this one, it was a live recording of the devotees that reside here singing. These are Orient devotees, and because she resided for a major part of her life in Jagannath Puri, and these are the deities that are worshipped there. Chaitanya Gadadhar deity. Chaitanya Gadadhar deity. And of course her Govardhan Shilas. Now, the history of Gangamata Goswamini is an interesting history. It's a little long, but she was the daughter and the only child of a king in what is now the northern part of Orissa. And the king had no son, so he was, the system is that after, if there's no son, then the daughter who marries, she becomes the queen, and her husband becomes the king. But in Seminole line, her position is particularly important. So when she became aged for marriage, she indicated to her father that I'll only marry Narayana. And that was a problem, because how are you going to marry your daughter to Narayana? And so in course of time, there was no marriage, and the father died. So his daughter, Sachi was her name, she became the queen without a husband. And she was good at ruling, and things were going very nicely. But she had no interest in material affairs. She was deeply absorbed in renunciation. And so in course of time, Sachi, on the pretext of visiting holy places, but her real purpose was she wanted to find a guru, she visited Jagannath Puri. And when she went to visit Jagannath Puri, she became very inspired with the association that she met there. They advised her to go to Vrindavan. And there she could find a qualified guru. And so that's where she went, Vrindavan. And when she was in Vrindavan, she met Haridas Pandit. Haridas Pandit is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's one of the persons who Krishnadas Kaviraj got his blessings to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Haridas Pandit was a disciple of Ananta Acharya. And Ananta Acharya was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. As we know, Gadadhar Pandit was well known for his recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that gift was also with Ananta Acharya, and it was also with Haridas Pandit. And that's in part where Ganga Mata learned her skill in speaking Srimad Bhagavatam from these great personalities. So when she went to Vrindavan, she became very moved by Haridas Pandit's recitation, description of the Bhagavatam. So she requested to become his disciple. And the way the narration goes is he didn't say no, but he didn't say yes. He said, how is it possible that a woman from a royal family can undergo the austerities necessary to live in Vrindavan and be fit to receive Diksha? So Sachi understood that it was a test, and so she met the test. She gave up her ornaments and fine cloth, took the cloth of a mendicant lady, lived by the side of the river Jamuna, which is very dangerous for a lady. She just took rest on the side of the river Jamuna, and did Madhukari throughout Vrindavan town, and did like that for quite some time. Still came to hear his classes, and her attraction didn't diminish, her attraction became stronger, and he eventually agreed. I can see that you're fit to become a disciple. So he gave her Diksha. And after some time, he had another disciple, as you see on the screen here, Lakshmi Priya. And Lakshmi Priya had the discipline of chanting the same number of rounds each day that was chanted by Haridas Thakur. She was a very elevated Vaishnavi. So Lakshmi Priya was at that time residing by the side of Radha Kunda. And so they went together. And they're associating together, and she heard the Bhagavatam being narrated by all these elevated persons there as well. And after some time of that kind of association, Haridas Pandit invited her to come see him in Vrindavan, and then he gave her an assignment. The assignment was, the deities of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya are not being cared for. So go there and take care of his deities. And that was his assignment. So like Gadadhar Pandit, deity worship, and Srimad Bhagavatam, these two most particularly outstanding things were passed through spiritual master to disciple. And so she went to Puri, where she just followed the order of her spiritual master. But in particular, there was a Damodar Shila. Now, those of you that have been to Puri, you know how there's a Smarta influence amongst the Brahmanas. And A and B, women are not to receive Gayatri, and women are not to worship Shilas. But she did both. And, there's some people that didn't like that. But she did, because on the order of her guru. And they were very happy to have her take on that worship. And what she did after the morning worship was she would recite Srimad Bhagavatam, as she heard from Haridas Pandit and others. And because she was so gifted at speaking and so learned and so forth, many people would come and hear from her. And of the many people, the crowds of people that came, the king heard about, the king came, King Mukunda Dev came to hear her class. And I'll read. One day the king, Mukunda Dev, came to hear her class. He was very pleased to hear such authoritative conclusions coming from the mouth of a saintly Mataji. So in his mind he wished to present something to her. That very night he had a dream in which Lord Jagannath said, "You should offer the place known as Sweta Ganga to Sachi." Now what's Sweta Ganga? Sweta means white and Ganga is the Ganga. There's a tank called Sweta Ganga, very near to where she was residing, very near to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And he offered that. Early the next morning, the king came to see her, and Sachi very meekly offered him a seat and inquired as to the purpose of his visit. The king then related Jagannath's order and requested her to accept a piece of land adjacent to Sweta Ganga. Sachi wasn't interested. She said, no thanks. And he was insisting, and he was insisting, and he was insisting. And after all, he's the king. And after all, Jagannath gave the order. So she accepted a piece of land. After some time, the public began to gossip. Believe it or not. And the gossip was that she was previously the daughter of a king. And so her renown is spreading and spreading and spreading. And some people didn't like because she was worshipping Ashila and she got the favor of the king, and you know how it is. So around that time was the annual festival where Ganga Sagara, where the Ganges flows into the sea, and it's a custom where many people would go to take their bath in the Ganga at that particular time. It's in our Vaishnav calendar, Ganga Sagara, Snan. So many people were going, but she couldn't go because her guru had instructed her to worship the deity. You can't not neglect the order of guru, so she didn't go. That night, Jagannath spoke to her in a dream. Sachi, don't worry. On the day of Mahavaruni, that's this particular day when the Sanan is to take place, you should bathe in the Sweta Ganga. Ganga Devi herself will personally come to join you there. So she was very happy. And at midnight, when everybody is cleared out, she took her bath in Sweta Ganga. And suddenly, the water of Sweta Ganga started to rise and carried her all the way to the Jagannath temple and left her inside the Jagannath temple. She saw thousands and thousands of the residents of Sri Kshetra taking their baths right in the temple room. A great uproar resounded in all directions from the recitation of prayers and hymns. In the midst of these festivities, Sachi very religiously performed the Varuni bath in the water of the Ganga. But there were a crowd of people and all this bathing noise and prayers. So the guards woke up. And when the guards woke up, they went in to see what was going on, and the water was gone, but they just saw Sachi in the temple room. But you know the temple's locked up, so how'd she get in? So they put two and two together and said she's a thief. She's come here to steal jewelry from Jagannath, and so they locked her up. Sachi didn't mind and very blissfully continued to chant the holy name. That night the king had a dream. Dreams become very important with Jagannath. And Jagannath very angrily told him, "You should immediately release Sachi. I personally caused the Ganga to flow from my own foot. It was this that brought her into the temple so that she could take bath on this auspicious day. If you are concerned for the welfare of your subjects and your own good fortune, then along with the temple priests, you go beg her forgiveness fall at her feet and request to become her disciples, the king and his associates. So what did the king do? He woke up, and in the morning, he called for the priests and told them what had taken place. She's in jail. Release her from jail. And he went personally and begged her forgiveness. And Sachi was laughing. You know, Jagannath has such a sense of humor. That's how she took it. And on the next auspicious day, she initiated the king. This is one of these very special situations where ladies became Diksha gurus. She gave him Diksha. And from that point on, she became known as Ganga Mata Goswamini. And many of the priests also became her disciples, which was very revolutionary. The king wanted to give some land as Guru Dakshin, but she declined. What she did accept was the Mahaprasad. She said, you can bring daily 2 pots of Mahaprasad from Jagannath temple, 1 pot of vegetables, the remnant of Jagannath's cloth, and 160 small conch shells. That was the currency of the time. I mean, I've seen small conch shells. I don't know how it worked, but that's what happened. We're almost done with this morning's class. There was a learned pundit who visited in Puri. There's his name, Manidhar Sharma. Manidhar Sharma took his bath in the Sweta Ganga, and one of the rituals there is offering oblations to the ancestors. And while he was there, he heard about Ganga Mata. And Ganga Mata, but you remember, she is worshipping the deities of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but she has her own little place. There's 2 places, all right along the side. It's like very short walking distance from Sweta Ganga to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's place. So he went, and he heard her speaking, and he was really moved by her speaking. So he stayed for some time in Puri. He heard her classes on a regular basis, and he also requested, an exalted Brahmin personality. So he already had some mantras, whatever those mantras were, but the Radha Krishna mantra was not a mantra that he had, and he accepted mantra diksha from her. Then comes this other celebrated, there are many other individuals like this. Can we remove that stuff at the top so you can read what it says? There. There was a person in Jaipur named Chandra Sharma. Chandra Sharma had a dream. And in the dream, Jagannath appeared in his dream. That's Jagannath from Puri appeared in his dream. And Jagannath said, you're serving Rasika Rai. That's the name of his deity, Krishna deity, who is present in your house, but it's not being done properly. I want you to bring him to Sri Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, and deliver him, the deity, to Ganga Mata. And his dream ended. And so he was very sad. He liked his deity, but how can you disobey Lord Jagannath? So he made a pilgrimage to Puri, all the way from Jaipur. And when he reached Puri, he was inquiring, where is Ganga Mata, found out where she is. He came to her door, and in a bag he had his deity, and he told her the story. This is Jagannath's instruction. And she said, no, I don't have the means to worship a deity. I don't have sufficient wealth or facilities, so I can't accept because I would make offense. So there's different versions, but one of the versions says he just left his deity in the garden outside her place. Just left. And then in her dream, Masika Roy appeared and said, I'm hungry, feed me. I haven't been fasting for days. Prepare something. So although she didn't have much of anything to prepare, she prepared. And there's like a very elaborate description of, she, after feeding him, she made a place for him to lie down, just a bed of leaves, and she made some leaf fan. It was fanning him, and it was very natural for her because she had been trained in deity worship, and she eventually lived her life serving Rasika Roy, now on the altar there. And she lived a long time. She lived to 121. And then she made some appeal to the deity. I can't do this anymore. I'm too old. He said, I want to be worshipped by you. Don't give me away. So she selected a disciple named Vanamali Das, and the deity was given to him. And there's I don't have a photograph, but it just gives a description of what's on the altar at Ganga Mata Mat. Rasika Roy, Radha Rasika Roy, Radha Shamasundar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Vinod, and Radha Raman. And other than these, the Damodar Shila of Sarup Damodar, the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a dancing figure of Gauranga and Gopal deities are present on the altar. And I wish I had a photograph. Maybe I can find a photograph before we have our Vrindavan Yatra. That would be nice. So that's our places for this morning. We have 6 minutes left. Krishna. So let's see if there's some discussion. We're visiting places where great Vaishnavas resided when they were living at Radha Kunda, and their temples and their lives. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the virtual visit to Radha Kunda. I was reflecting on the humility verse of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and it's very hard to understand. And my application, what I always end up happening when I see this verse is that wow, he's so humble. I really cannot understand his humility, and so the only thing that my application point ends up being is I just wish to appreciate and glorify Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami for his humility, and then hope to get some tiny percentage of his humility. How else can I apply? I do not know.
What was the final remark?
I do not know how else to apply. If you would like to comment on.
It's fine. That's, I mean, who can imitate? We don't imitate. But we understand the degree for such a person as Krishna does, the degree, just like the degree of renunciation of Raghunath, or the degree of humility of Krishna Das, or the degree of some wonderful quality, outstanding quality of an elevated Vaishnava. And we should understand that's a direction. These persons are superlative, they're out of sight, they're beyond our, as you say, comprehension. But it gives a direction. And it's important for it's application-wise, it's important for our lives to understand this is an important and a very inspiring Vaishnava quality. Let me cultivate.
So, Maharaj, when we say elevated literature, so how do I understand that?
How do you understand that? It's esoteric and intimate, both.
Okay. So right now at this stage, I won't be able to understand the content of that literature.
Yeah, you need not bother your brain about it at all. You just understand this much. Krishnadas Kaviraj understood it.
And then Maharaj, you mentioned, Sachi Mata became Ganga Mata Goswamini
Yes.
when she initiated those disciples. So she got initiation also that time. I mean, her name changed.
No, it doesn't mean that she got initiation, her name changed. That's a practice that we have in ISKCON, but it doesn't mean that she got initiation and at that time her name changed.
I was just wondering how her name changed.
It's just conventional. My understanding is conventional.
Okay.
I mean, she was, according to what Jagannath told the king, I arranged for Ganga to bring her here so she could have this Ganga Snan, right here in my presence in the temple room. Ganga, Mata, and then the initiation part, Goswamini, because she was renounced. Goswamini. It's conventional. She didn't get a diction name.
And Maharaj, for this.
Same with this, Krishnadas Kaviraj. It was a title. It's a title. Kaviraj. He didn't receive a Kaviraj Diksha. Just a name that was ascribed to him. Like that.
In this Rasika Roy deity's pastime, Maharaj, so she's saying that she doesn't have those means with which she can serve the deity. But then the deity itself came into her dream and asked for food preparation. So can we draw a point like Krishna doesn't want, like he just wants.
Whatever we have.
Yeah, because personally myself, I get very concerned if like proper worship is happening because I'm not trained and everything. But I also feel that this principle sometimes we can use that whatever means are there and how much ever I know, is that okay or not?
Yes.
Okay. And lastly, Maharaj, that Lord Jagannath's mood is so personal because we have seen many pastimes that he appears in the dream.
Yes.
But in case of Lord Krishna, we don't hear so much like that. So, it would be so nice if Krishna also appears in the dream and such pastimes are there. So, are these just different moods of Krishna or?
Yeah. Yes.
Lord,
Nrsimhadev would sometimes, we're interested in service, not dreams.
but it's so wonderful to hear these pastimes.
Well, Jagannath is Jagannath, and Krishna is Krishna, and Nrsimhadev is Nrsimhadev. And
Thank you.
online, anything? Okay. Okay, time's up. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.